I'm calling the Health Committee meeting together here today at 2:25, and Councilor Garvin is going to ask the invocation for us.
Our Father in heaven, creator of all things, we thank you for this beautiful day. We thank you for a time we can meet and serve our people and the nation. We ask now that you would guide us. We pray for wisdom and guidance as we work through this committee. But thank you especially for our visitors and the staff and each person here that's on the committee. Be with our leader, be with our chief and everyone that works with the Cherokee Nation. Especially pray for our military personnel all over the world. Forgive us for our sins. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Ms. Shelley, will you call the roll, please?
Yes, ma'am. Janelle Fulbright.
Present.
Dick Blay.
Here.
Buell England. Jack Baker.
Here.
Joe Berg.
Honey.
Juliet Coates. Jody Fishingham. Here. Meredith Fraley. Don Garvin.
Amen.
Tyler Ward Jordan. Frankie Hargis.
Present.
Chuck Hoskin Jr.
Here.
Lee Keener. Curtis Snell. David Thornton. David Walkingstick. Kara Callan Watts. We have the quorum.
Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion for approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Second. Approval in a second. Everyone in favor of the minutes being approved? Say
So
aye.
moved.
Aye. All opposed, say. Okay. Before we go into reports, we need to amend the agenda, and Councilor Hoskins.
Yes, Madam Chair, before you are a series of resolutions, starting with the resolution supporting and endorsing the Cherokee Nation Health Capital Improvement Act. I would move to add these in toto. Resolution confirming the nomination of Elmer Tadpole as a governing board member of the Cherokee Nation Comprehensive Care Agency, known as PACE. A resolution confirming the nomination of Dr. Roger Montgomery as a governing board member of Cherokee Nation Comprehensive Care Agency, that's also PACE. A resolution confirming the nomination of Dr. Roger Montgomery as a governing board member of the Cherokee Nation Home Health Services Incorporated. And finally, a resolution confirming the nomination of Elmer Tadpole as a governing board member of the Cherokee Nation Home Health Services Incorporated. So I move to amend the agenda. These all, I believe, need to go to the full council tonight, Madam Chair.
It's moved and seconded. Everyone in favor of amending the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. We've amended the agenda and carry it over for tonight. Our first report is from the Montgomery Service Unit, and Mr. Valuers can't be here, and Ms. Snell is going to give the report.
Good afternoon. For those of you who don't know me, or some new faces I see, I'm Vicki Snell, and I'm the Hospital Administrative Officer at the Claiborne Indian Hospital. George is out this week and asked me to attend on his behalf. I'm pleased to report that, we just started a new fiscal year. We closed out 2012 in good shape, and we are operating under a continuing resolution, for the next 6 months, or until a full budget has been approved. So we have resumed operations and are open and functioning. We brought on a new key position in leadership last week. That we filled our vacant ambulatory care director position that's been vacant for about 6 months, and his name is Kelly Batiste. He will be directing our ambulatory flow within the hospital and focusing on any new programs and changes that come up in the ambulatory care setting. We've started our aggressive annual influenza campaign again, so we're encouraging all of our staff, all of our patients, family members to get immunized against the flu, and hoping to have good numbers to report for this campaign season. And of course, George sent a report. We're still recruiting for physicians and one OB-GYN and a couple of ER physicians. our third-party revenue for fiscal year 12 exceeded the previous year, so we were pleased with our collection efforts, and we had some key contributors to that. We cleared up all of our backlog that we had in coding, plus we brought on and filled some key positions to get those visits up and those services going. So we had a successful year, so we're hoping 2013 is just as successful. Any questions?
Councilor Hoskin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Snell, as you know, we have patients that will say go to the Veneta Clinic and they'll have a contract health referral and that'll be sent to Claremore and Claremore will make a determination on that. What happens if one of my constituents has a chart at Veneta, goes to Veneta, gets a contract health referral, but does not have a chart at Claremore, doesn't go to Claremore? What happens to that referral when it comes to Claremore and you all find that there's no chart?
What we have to do is get them to establish and get registered through our system so that if it's approved, we can obligate through our contract health programs. And so they'll have to set up a whole new record.
Do you actually reach out by phone to these folks and say you need to come in and do a chart?
Yeah, but when Contract Health gets those referrals and they're approved, they'll contact the patient and let them know they need to get to establish a chart number.
Is that because you have to have something on record showing that they're eligible for services through IHS?
Right. Plus the package itself, if they're approved for services, before we can pay that vendor, we have to have them registered into our system.
I see. You know, that makes some sense. But I have to say, I've heard in the community that actually folks who don't have a chart at Claremore kind of end up in a black hole. Don't actually get called, don't actually get the contract health need addressed, and in fact don't know that the reason that they're not getting addressed is because they lack this chart. I can tell it surprises you to hear that. It surprised me to hear it. But I wonder if you could just kind of double check your all system to make sure what you believe is happening is happening. Because if the opposite is true, then we have folks that really are in a black hole and just don't know why.
Right, because when referrals come in from outlying clinics, those have to go through the committee process as well. So there should be some outcome to those referrals.
And when you determine that the practice is, in fact, to pick up the phone and call these folks, do you think you or George could communicate that to Cherokee Nation and specifically the clinics who deal with these? Because I think a lot of the folks in these clinics are hearing this from the patients. So what's going on? And anyway, I just encourage you to just run all that information down and make sure it's clearly communicated to the folks in the clinics in particular.
We'll follow up.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any more questions? I have a comment. I'm looking forward to the day when we get our new system in place, if they ever get the software written for it, where we can, everybody have the same chart number everywhere, because we've got a real problem with that going on at Redbird right now, because they have limited radiology and x-ray, and go down there and go to the doctor, and they say, we need a chest x-ray, you need to go to Wilma P. or Three Rivers, and perhaps that person doesn't have a chart established there, and they're elderly and they don't know where everything is, and it adds another hour onto their visit. So I'm hoping Ms. Davis and Dr. Montgomery can speed us along the way on that journey, because it's a real problem where everybody's got a different chart number everywhere. Since we're using throughout the system, the different clinics, it's hard to go around to every one of them and make yourself a chart where you might get sent to. So I'm hoping we can correct that. So, any other questions? Well, thank you for that good report.
Thank you.
Next, we have Ms. Connie Davis, who's got quite a report, I hope. So, welcome.
Where do I start? Good afternoon. I guess you've reviewed the report sent to you earlier in the month, which is a struggle for me because I forget what we're talking about and we're ahead somewhat. But to speak to the electronic health record that you mentioned, we have put out a request for information based on the needs of Cherokee Nation and all the clinics with the hospital, and included having one universal chart number in that request. We've received, I believe, 7 responses, so we're now in the process of analyzing those and to begin meetings with the vendors with our procurement office.
Sooner the better.
I agree. I left on each of your seats the questions that were asked of last month, and there's still some things that were not unanswered, but if you want to review those, then contact me by email. I'll be glad to follow up and still look into the things that went unanswered. We did work on a strategic plan, and rather than make multiple copies, I decided to go ahead and just send that to you by email, and I will send that this afternoon if that's okay with everyone.
I have a second one. Madam Chair, back on the electronic health records, one thing I learned from you recently, I think I've got this correct, is that the Affordable Care Act, in fact, has funds available for us to utilize if we can get there. We've got to have a system in place that can qualify for those funds, correct?
I appreciate you bringing that up. That is true, and we've been able to meet what they call phase 1 of meaningful use, but there are limitations with RPMS that prohibit us from meeting the next level of funding. I believe we received around $4 million, Amy, in meaningful use. $3 million in meeting that obligation that we've set aside for the future purchase of a new electronic health record.
I hear a lot, as I'm sure you do, about in election season, people wanting to repeal the Affordable Care Act. I hope the folks that want to do that might carve out the millions of dollars that we would stand to lose to do something that's obviously critical to our system if they are serious about that.
There are multiple reporting guidelines that are necessary now to maintain a patient's medical record, and a good software system will help us with the multitude of problems that we encounter every day.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilman Watts?
Thank you. And I know we talked about the Affordable Care Act last month too, and it should be an ongoing issue. What would be if it was repealed, and you may put this in the report for passing it, what would be the impact, financial impact to Cherokee Nation Health Services if the Affordable Care Act was repealed?
I don't have that information, but we can certainly get that to you.
Okay. And I don't know if that's something, I apologize, we were still coming from Bull Hollow, but if Vicki, if you could pass on to George too, that the impact of the Clemore Indian Hospital, if the Affordable Care Act was repealed for next month, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Am I understanding you correct that you're going to send us an email this afternoon?
On the strategic plan? The
I was
details
hoping that you would present it here today because a lot of people are wondering about it.
We can discuss it if you would like. We were doing lots of last-minute modifications, and rather than print it, I thought maybe electronically would be better. But I'd be happy to discuss it if you would like.
Well, I think we have people with lots of questions that would. If you could go ahead and present what you have.
Okay. It began with looking at capital expansion. We're in great need of clinic space throughout about half of our health system. Right now, repairs in Sallisaw are a priority, and it's undergoing those needed repairs right now. It's looking like it'll be about 6 months before those are completed. Three Rivers needs to be repaired. There's some structural issues with the soil there, and we're waiting for one more report I learned just this morning from an analysis that was done to make a final determination, but it looks like about $3.2 million to repair that clinic. Now, ironically, the initial estimates were $65,000 to repair the soil, to fix the soil around the building, but the bigger part of that $3 million was to actually repair the parking lot. But we still want to be sensitive to that because it's a patient safety issue. If there's, bumps in the walkway or in the parking lot, patients could trip and fall, so we want it to be a safe environment for them. Jay, we have 8 acres there, and we have opportunities and feel like we could build a 28,000 square foot clinic there. Wilma P. needs an expansion, and based on their volume, which is close to the same as what Three Rivers sees, we feel like adding 28,000 square foot there would at least begin to help meet part of the demand at that clinic. Bartlesville is working out in less than 5,000 square feet, and they are working at capacity, so it limits us on what opportunities may be in Bartlesville. And we feel like that would be a good place to build a clinic because there are lots of people with insurance there, and we want to be the provider of choice there. So we want to look to go to Bartlesville. The Jack Brown Center here in Tahlequah, we need to expand it, or it needs a new facility. It's very dated, and we have $3.5 million from collections that have been set aside in previous years, and it's a $5 million project for 36 beds. We currently have 20 and a waiting list of about 3 months, and this would allow us to expedite access to that facility. And it should be completed if the resolution goes through for the budget mod. We may be able to have that completed within the year. And then the final thing would be the hospital or clinic here at Hastings. And we feel like the best option for us would be to go with a new facility for the hospital, expand our surgery capacity, our inpatient opportunities. We transfer about 100 patients a month to Tulsa and surrounding communities, and we feel like those patients would be better served here.
Okay, anyone have any questions or comments? If not, we'll be looking for your email this afternoon. Thank you. Our next thing of business, old business, discussion, comparison of healthcare provider salaries, sponsored by Councilor Jody Fisher-Hawk.
Now, I'd just like to report that we talked about this again in the healthcare work group, and Connie and staff and administration is looking into it. And we just keep on there till next month again.
Okay.
And out of the work group come some thoughts on the clinics and what they need to be done.
All right. We'll continue that on for next month. Next is discussion and possible action regarding the PACE Center, and I think this is going to be
I'm going to pull that.
withdrawn. All right, the council recording.
Is that withdrawn or tabled?
No, I'm going to withdraw.
Withdrawn.
We're going to consider 2 new members today for that board.
Okay, next, in new business, discussion and possible action related to a health master plan feasibility study relating to operational best practices review as well as capital infrastructure long-term plan. And that was sponsored by me, and I'm going to withdraw that at this time and may bring it back to the table later. Next is a resolution authorizing Cherokee Nation Health Services to assume management, supervision, oversight of Cherokee Nation Home Health Agency and Hospice of the Cherokees. And this has got several sponsors.
I don't want to cut off discussion, but given the fact that there's some new info on how that has to be handled, I would like to propose at the end of whatever the discussion is that we table that. I guess I'm doing a motion to table, but whenever, I just don't want to cut off discussion.
Let's open it up for discussion.
So just to clarify, you did not accept a motion to table or second, right? Because that just ceases discussion.
She was waiting for us to discuss it, and then if there was anybody that wanted to discuss or ask questions, then she is going to.
I might elaborate on that if I still have the floor.
Yes.
We have to move carefully on that, or we stand to lose our Medicare number. So until the powers to be work that all out, I don't want to be in jeopardy of losing that number. It's certainly too hard to get it back, if we would ever get it back. So that's what, that was my proposal, was either table or pull it all together to be brought back, possibly in the future or not at all if they get it worked out.
Okay, is your motion to withdraw?
Well, I'm not the only sponsor there, so I don't know that, I would like to just withdraw it because it does jeopardize our number. And there's a different way that we can work this with a new board that I think we can get this back on track. Unless somebody has a better proposal.
Yes, Councilor Watts.
And it obviously will take a will of the body.
Right.
But I was waiting for all these agenda items to ask a number of questions, which I've tried. I haven't had the time I needed to really give the proper heads up to Connie, but I've had at least one or two conversations initial to let her know that there's a number of questions I have around how PACE and home health and Medicare, Medicaid, and hospice are all interwoven. So I would like to make an motion, if all these things are withdrawn and tabled and everything else, I would like to make a motion for discussion only on PACE, hospice, home health, and all the Tahlequah partnerships, that we lay some things out on the table, because there needs to be a lot of work done before it comes back to committee and we do any further actions, because I would think, I haven't done additional research that I needed to do, but I'm concerned that we've already put a number of things at jeopardy, so we need to have all be on the same page. So just a motion to discuss health and all these recent actions around these agencies.
Just point of order, is the councilor moving to amend the agenda at this point?
Yes, it's a motion to amend the agenda just to discuss.
I'll second.
Is that for discussion now?
I'm a little bit confused here because you were up first and we didn't decide if we were going to, as a group, the sponsors, table it or withdraw it. And then we could, she's amending the agenda for discussion only. And also, our counselor back there is wanting to say something on this. Go ahead.
Well, I think this might address Councilor John Watts' request, but we're coming out of order because Councilor, the speaker's motion, I think, goes first before then we speak to Councilor John Watts' motion. But Elizabeth Odell from the AG's office is here. She and I will be working on this, and she has some information that will probably answer some of Councilor Watts' questions, because we can keep everything going and services to.
Okay,
My motion will be just pull two new business, plumb off just withdraw it. That would be my motion, just to withdraw it.
okay. We have a second on that. Okay.
Table overgoes everything.
Well,
This is withdrawal, not table.
it may take a vote though,
Well-
because we have more than one sponsor.
Right.
Point of inquiry or information or order, if there's no objection, it seems like her request to withdraw would stand.
I don't know if there's an objection or not.
We don't-
Okay, all these different sponsors here. Does anyone object to withdraw it?
Yeah, we can always bring it back.
Okay, we can always bring it back, so that is withdrawn. Now we're back to Councilor Callan Watts. Has got a motion for discussion only, right?
Yeah, motion to amend to discuss.
And it's been seconded. So everybody that's in favor of,
Can we discuss that for a minute?
yes,
That motion?
yes,
Can I have the?
yes.
That's going to take more than 10 minutes. That area that she's wanting to discuss is for a whole meeting on its own. You can't do that in 10 minutes, what she's asking about. I would suggest that we not do that at this time, but let her put it on a regular agenda or a special meeting. It would be even more appropriate for a special meeting.
Yes.
special committee meeting. And that's my 2 cents for, at this time.
Counselor White?
I respectfully disagree. I see it that there's a number of issues that I think the attorney, because I tried to give Connie and her staff a heads up, and it sounds like she had the opportunity to talk to the AG's office. There are things we need to put on the table right now, and it will take time to research and develop it, and then next month, we would hope that they would have a better understanding by then of how complicated the situation is. But I wanted to give a brief idea of what I've found out by asking questions, and put it out on the table, because we may need to all together work to unravel what is already happened.
So you have a motion, and it's been seconded for discussion.
Amend agenda.
To amend the agenda. So, we need to vote on that. She wants to amend the agenda for discussion only.
Points of information, could you put a time limit on if we were to do that?
Yes, I will.
I'm happy to accept that as a friendly amendment.
What?
The time limit,
10.
if we discuss it for 15 minutes, that'll only put us 5 minutes behind. So, we'll do what we can do, let's say in 15 minutes. Will you accept that?
I'd like to say,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fraley?
Is the resolution withdrawn? So if we bring it back on the table, doesn't it have to be changed significantly before it can be discussed again?
Yeah.
So if she wanted to bring it back, then she'd have to make some changes to the original legislation. Or not legislation, but resolution.
I think it's only this
We need a whole hour.
Okay, Councilor Jordan, you withdrew it, and no one objected, all the sponsors. Councilor Watts wants to discuss this same thing. She wants to amend it to bring it back. Is that the way I understand it? But if it's not significantly changed, we can't do that.
I don't have my Robert's Rule of Order with me, I'm sorry.
Well, we look to you as the expert with lots of experience.
Can I just make
Does
point
that
of
not
information?
kill it?
Yes, point of information.
Madam Chair, is Councilor Crown Watts simply wanting to go into some discussion only of this larger topic of healthcare, PACE, a variety of things, but it's discussion only. It's not to resurrect the resolution. At least that's not my understanding.
That's right.
Madam Chair.
That's the way I understand it.
And the limit would be 15 minutes.
And the limit will be 50. Okay, with Councilor Fishenhall.
here's my problem is, I know I've been asking these questions for the last 5 years of the previous administration over this whole mess with PACE and Cherokee Health Partners, and then we find out there's something out there called TDI that nobody knew that we had even entered into because the council wasn't told. And I have been on this subject for the last 5 years. I don't think 15 minutes is going to do it justice. I think, I put hundreds of hours with Doug trying to figure this out. I think, all honestly, I think we need some time to schedule a special meeting so we can talk about it for several hours.
I don't mind to schedule a totally separate committee meeting if everyone would come, but I think we'll go ahead and let Councilor Watts have her 15 minutes if we vote to give it to her. So,
I don't even want 15 minutes.
okay, let's vote on. We've got a motion and a second. All of us in favor of discussion only of these different health problems, not necessarily the same thing that's on the book. Let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. I can't tell which side won. Roll call. for discussion, or, let's be clear, if you're voting yes, you're voting for us to discuss it for no longer than 15 minutes and continue at another day, maybe. And no is, we do not discuss it.
Bill Anglin,
Yes.
Jack Baker,
Yes.
Joe Berg,
No.
Julianne Coates, Jody Fishinghawk,
No.
Meredith Fraley,
No,
Janelle Fulbright,
No.
John Garvin,
Yes.
Frankie Hargis,
No.
Chuck Hoskin Jr.,
No.
Anna Gloria Jordan,
No,
Lee Keener,
Yes.
Dick Clay,
Of course, Madam Chairman has decided to give us another time to do this.
I will.
I'm going to vote no.
Curtis Snell,
No.
David Thornton,
No.
David Walkenstein,
No.
Karen Cowan Watts.
Yes.
We will not be discussing it today, but we can set up a special time
Good.
and allot ourselves some more time whenever we so desire. It could be, I would suggest that rather than have a total different date, maybe we could add an hour on to our next council committee meeting. Come in an hour early. Hour's not long enough. I'm open for suggestions. Councilor Watts, what's your wishes?
I just hope you schedule it when I'm actually here. That would be refreshing too, so.
Well, I don't know exactly what you're referring to there. If you're talking about the work group that I appointed, we have met, but for us to meet all together and not have a quorum, which we do not do in the work group, I'm talking about two totally different types of meetings here. I don't know what you're referring to. I'm talking about for all of us as a whole to be here and to come in an hour early. Yes.
Could we meet on the 25th, the day of meetings, of our other meetings, maybe at 11 or 12?
Councilor Hargis has suggested that we come in early on ENF Rules Day on the 25th and come in at 11 o'clock.
I won't be able to be here.
All right, we can't do it that day because of,
November council meeting will be at Head Start.
no, but you're just saying we can't do it on the Thanksgiving lunch day, which is later. We're talking about ENF. Okay. What? Councilor Hargis, are you going to recommend that we do it on?
If it doesn't work, I mean, Karen's the one wanted to discuss it, so if it doesn't work for her, then.
Thank you.
Does that work for you, Councilor Watts?
No, it doesn't. The Tulsa Urban Indian Clinic is having an expansion ceremony at 10 a.m. in Tulsa. I would not be able to do that ceremony even for 15, 20 minutes and give
I
that
understand.
facility the diligence it's due. This could have been over in 5 minutes, and we could have talked about the corporate structure we're violating, plus all the Medicare, Medicaid, so that the AG's office could have done their proper research and get back with us in a month. But instead, we put it off like this, again, because of all the political games.
Now, I don't know who you're referring to. I'm not playing a political game. I'm very interested in healthcare and getting the best services out there. And I think we've got a wonderful team of doctors, administrators trying to help us. I, for one, am not grandstanding. I don't know what you're referring to there. So. Councilor Jordan.
are we trying to do it in November?
Yes.
Is that when we're trying to do it? And what day was out for Kara?
That was up.
Okay.
October the
Could
25th.
we, would it be possible for us to do it on the morning of the 13th, which is before we go up to Head Start and before our afternoon meetings? We just move health to that morning. Do you have anything that day, Karen?
All I have is that November 12th are meeting, so I've got something misunderstood on my calendar.
They're closed on Veterans Day. We usually do that the next day. Is that right?
Our next meeting date, regular, is the 13th council meeting.
Give Gail the poll, everybody, and see what she can be available and do it that way.
I have Veterans Day on November the 11th on Sunday is the,
Yeah, but the nation's closed on Monday.
We always observe Veterans
Are you available the morning of the 13th of November?
well, I guess I'm going to have to be now, so yes.
I would propose then we do this health meeting on the morning of the 13th, say about 10 o'clock.
That's great with me, but it pleases the body as a whole, so then we need to vote on it.
I'd make that in form of a motion.
Second. All in favor of us meeting early on November 13th at 10 a.m., so we'll have extended time to discuss it. Let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
Additionally, Chairperson, Janelle, could we make sure that all of our health body will be able to be there too? Because this will be questions that pertain to them.
At this time, we would like to ask you, if at all possible, to be here on that day.
We're available.
We have any announcements?
Guess we set the next
All these amended items? Sorry.
This next. This next.
Okay. Which one do we want to do first?
This will be the endorsing the Health Capital Improvement Act. Madam Chair, earlier we amended the agenda with a number of items, the first of which was a resolution supporting and endorsing the Cherokee Nation Health Capital Improvement Act. I would make a motion for its approval and would ask the sponsors to add me as a sponsor, and I would yield to Speaker Jordan.
I second that.
And I'd yield my time to Speaker Jordan.
Go ahead, Councilor Jordan.
There has been quite a bit of work done on this particular resolution by a number of people on the council and in conjunction with the health people regarding capital improvements project. And these were identified as being the most needed. And with that, I don't know, did we do a motion? With that, I'd certainly encourage your consideration on this resolution so that we can move forward with getting these things done, completing our clinical system, and gaining a badly needed hospital here that will allow more operating room. One of the things that we have talked about back and forth was the need for a surgery center versus the need for a hospital. Well, we can have both. If we do the hospital, we can do the surgery center within the hospital. And it just makes sense if you're going to spend the millions that it was going to take to do the surgery center to just add a little bit more and you get the whole hospital. And 100 cases a month are being sent out that we could be billing for here if we had the necessary room to do the operations, because we've got surgeons. We do have the surgeons right now. They're not being utilized as fully as they need to be. There's a lot more room needed. But we also need and know that the clinical system comes ahead of the hospital. And so we want to get the clinical system done, and that will be all these things that are named here. That would be expansion or remodeling and remediation at Redbird. There would be an expansion at Wilma P, building a new clinic at J, a new clinic at Bartlesville, helping them with the rest of the money needed for the Jack Brown Center, which we badly need for our youth on alcohol and drug problems. Fixing Three Rivers and taking care of the hospital here. And I would encourage each and every one of you all to get on board and let's move our health forward. Thank you.
Councilor Hoskins?
Yeah, just briefly, Madam Chair, and I appreciate the sponsors who put this together. If you recall, Madam Chair, we attempted something similar to this a few years ago. In fact, we passed something vetoed by the former administration. But I think it's important we do this because it shows the council's embracing these ideas that the administration has, and if we work in partnership, I think we will get a lot done. And these are priorities that need to be met, and I certainly support them. I did have one question for Connie, just in the fourth whereas paragraph. It talks about establishing 2 nurse practitioner clinics at Bonita and Bartlesville. That was under the original act.
That was in 2008, yes, sir.
And obviously we moved beyond that at Bonita, and we're going to move beyond that at Bartlesville under this.
We actually have a provider, a physician, and a mid-level there.
I just wanted that clarification there. So I think this is a wonderful way to endorse the plans that are developing, and I appreciate Ms. Davis's work on it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilor Christian Hall?
I would like to know if they would accept a friendly where it says, whereas Chief Baker and the Cherokee Nation Tribal Council jointly has identified. Because I feel like the Tribal Council needs it now.
As the mover, I would, and certainly accept that as a friendly.
And the other thing I'd like Connie to talk to is some of the order of these, because I know in our work group we agreed that Three Rivers and Redbird needed to be taken care of.
And would anybody else like to be sponsors on this? Councilor Snell, Councilor Marcus, Councilor Garvin, Councilor Thornton, Councilor Hoskins, myself, and Councilor Bird wants on there twice. Does everybody want to sponsor?
I don't want on there.
Now, I have questions.
Councilor Wise? Wait.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Connie, this is the first that you've seen of it, and I'm excited about anything we can do to expand healthcare and such. So under the compact, is this going to impact our compact with Indian Health Service? And how will this do when we expand facilities? Will they provide additional operating costs, or are we also not just incurring those capital costs, but ongoing operating costs that won't be subsidized by IHS? How's that going to work?
That's a good question, and Dr. Graham has been intimately involved in this whole plan, and he will be working diligently with the Indian Health Service to hopefully have some JVs to help us mediate the cost of these expansions.
Okay, so is it this money, even though we're setting it aside, will the actual use of the money be contingent upon those agreements?
Not necessarily, no. We want to look at opportunities. We've been approached by several different people who can help us with building quickly and evaluate if they would be an appropriate person to partner with to get these buildings going rather than have to wait.
Meaning like somebody that was going to do capital investments, but this is a tribe for our not-for-profit health, or we're talking about building people coming to us and say, hey, if you've got money, we're going to build. I don't understand how to interpret that.
No, I don't know how to interpret what you said. But we're just going to look at any opportunity for funding and not limit ourselves to just a JV, because they didn't offer any, Indian Health didn't offer a joint venture this last year. So and we know there may be some cuts coming, so we don't want to have to be dependent on that. We want to go out and see what funding is available.
Okay, and it's not specific under Hastings. It says not applicable for project needed, and we've got $50 million for Hastings. I mean, we're sitting on the Claremore Indian Hospital, which is in dire need of stuff, but we're not even considering it, and we're investing everywhere else. But
the expansion for Hastings would be to 100 beds. It's a license for 62 beds right now, and ultimately to 100 to take care of the 100 patients a month that we transfer out of our emergency room.
And so that's what the 50 million is for, is to move from a 62-bed facility to a 100-bed facility?
Yes.
Okay. Would the motion and the second then accept an amendment to clarify the project needed would be to take that from a 62-bed facility to a 100-bed facility? I mean, we're designating $50 million of tribal money. I would think we would want to be more specific, is my... It says not applicable. We're just throwing 50 million at Hastings
No,
right now.
that is an error. It's a clerical error. Error is what that is.
Meant to say, I'm sorry.
Councilor Christian-Hall?
I'm not for that, because who knows, we may be able to do 110 or 120 beds, because you have managed to get the cost down on one of the operations you're working on by $3 million. She's saved on one thing already.
So could we at least say 100-bed minimum?
You would limit that?
Councilor Jordan?
I think it would be best when we got to that project, we know it's going to be about 50 million. It will be on the capital improvements project, and I think that we need to leave that to our health professionals to help us with that determination at that time. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilor Fraley?
Connie, these are all really great. Aren't we short-staffed? Do we have some kind of long-range recruitment plan in place? Like for the surgery center, do we have surgeons that would be willing to come to help?
We do.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Keener?
Thank you, Madam Chair. On these numbers here, the total 77 million, this is not an appropriation of funds, is that right?
No.
Right. So, I didn't understand your comment about the typographical error on unapplicable. What did you mean to say?
Yeah, that has been modified several times just this morning, trying to get it in the proper format.
Oh.
And it was probably a cut and paste that was omitted in transmission.
Well, to me, something of this magnitude, we should have the latest copy of what we're voting on. This is the latest copy with the errors on it. Right.
But the NA,
Okay. Okay, but if it hadn't been an error, it would have said 62 beds, 62 to 100 beds.
yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, John. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions, comments?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I'd like to comment if I could. Keep in
Go
mind,
ahead.
this is a resolution endorsing a project that without A&E work, without cost estimates, engineers going, these are merely estimates. And I'm sure they're not that good estimators that they're going to come in on these numbers. They're just keep in mind that you're not appropriating any dollars at this point. You're simply endorsing, do a resolution of support for the administration to go and pursue the necessary next steps toward this end. But the numbers will change.
Well, I'd like to say something if no one else got any comments. I think we need to do this resolution to expedite matters along, because what I'm told over and over, the wheels of the Cherokee Nation turn very, very slowly, so we're trying to speed things along. So I hope we'll have some support here for this.
Call for the question.
Call for the question. We'll have all those in favor, have a voice vote, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried for this resolution. Next.
Madam Chair, next on the amended portion of our agenda is a resolution confirming the nomination of Elmer Tadpole as a governing board member of the Cherokee Nation Comprehensive Care Agency, known as PACE, and I'd move for its approval with the request of the sponsors that I be added as a co-sponsor.
Does anyone else want to be added as co-sponsor for Mr. Tadpole?
I'd second that.
Jody Fisher-Hawk wants to be added.
Is Elmer here? Is this person here?
Mr. Tadpole had a cardiology appointment at 1:30, but he will be at council meeting this evening.
Counselor England, were you wanting to be added as a sponsor?
Yes, please.
Okay. Counselor, what, does everybody want to be added as a sponsor? No. Who does not want to be added as a sponsor? Okay. Everybody is a sponsor. Okay. No more questions or discussion. Well, we'll vote on this. All in favor of Elmer Tadpole as governing board member of the Cherokee Nation Home Health Services, I'll let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Same sign? Okay. Mr. Tadpole.
Madam Chair, next item on our amended agenda is a resolution confirming the nomination of Dr. Roger Montgomery as a governing board member of the Cherokee Nation Conference of Care Agency known as PACE. Has to be added as sponsor, co-sponsor. Move for its approval.
I second that.
All right. We've voted. A motion and approved and seconded. Does anybody else want to be added as a sponsor? Everybody, I think, wants to be added as a sponsor. As Councilor Bird says, put me down 2 times because I'm just really high on Dr. Montgomery. Quite knowledgeable man.
Yes.
I'm proud that I can have a sensible conversation with him, that he lowers it down and dumbs it down so even I can understand. Okay, all those in favor of Dr. Montgomery being on the board, let it be known by saying aye. Any opposition? Welcome to another board, and hopefully not another headache. But
Madam Chair, we have 2 other items, but just to remind us, when we amended the agenda, we indicated that these all needed to go to full council, so that'll be the case with those previous resolutions, and will be the case with these next 2. And the next one, Madam Chair, is resolution confirming the nomination of Dr. Roger Montgomery as a governing board member of Cherokee Nation Home Health Services Incorporated, asked to be added as a co-sponsor and move for its approval.
Second.
anybody, does everybody want to be added as a sponsor? Yes, I think you do. So. All in favor of Dr. Montgomery, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Welcome to another board, Dr. Montgomery.
And finally, Madam Chair, this is a resolution confirming the nomination of Elmer Tadpole as a governing board member of Cherokee Nation Home Health Services Incorporated. I'd like to be added as co-sponsor and move for its approval.
Does everyone want to be added onto this one? Yes.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. David Thornton seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay. Mr. Tadpole's another member. Okay. Do we have any announcements? Our next committee meeting is at 10 a.m. on November the 13th.
Hey, can you switch status to education?
You want to do it again?
Yeah, if you would, please. Education, that way you can have all the time. If you want.
Let's do it next time. We need to entertain a motion for adjournment.
I so moved.
Second.
All in favor of adjourning, let me know, say aye. Aye.
How much of a break? Who's next?